I have 3 brothers, and one of them's on Twitter.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Recruiter Podcast, episode 6 today. Hey, look, so this show ain't free, so we got to talk a little bit about some friends of the program. So I'm going to start with the Rockstar Auto Conference and the Unconference. I'm having a hard time saying unconference, but the Rockstar Unconference happening this Monday and Tuesday, which would make it the 13th and 14th, right? Yeah, 13th and 14th. I'm going to be there. And that's not reason enough to come. Matter of fact, that should be probably your last reason to come. But my son's going to be there, the director of operations for AutoMax, but that's also not a reason you should come. Anthony Santangelo, one of our top recruiter trainers, is going to be there talking about retaining employees. That's a really good reason to come. Jody Atkins, our controller for the last 8 zillion years, she's going to be there, and she's awesome. Call her Tinkerbell. She likes that. She's Tink. So we'll be there. But more importantly, this conference is different, and it's different for a lot of reasons. I'm going to start with the price thing because it's only been done once before in a different format, but the tickets are free. They cost nothing. Zero. You get there, you pay for a hotel block of rooms that is really inexpensive. And the speakers that you're going to see there are legit,
World class.
They are world class. There's several $1,000 a day speakers in any industry. If they get contracted as to speak somewhere, it's going to cost a few $1,000 or more, probably 5-figure money to have these people speak. They're there for free. You're not going to hear a bunch of word tracks at Rockstar. So if you're going there for that, you're going to be disappointed. What you're not going to be disappointed with is leaving Rockstar with things that could ultimately legitimately change your life, the life of your family, the life of your coworkers, the people that you work for, work under you, and which in my mind rather, for the money, and it's free, but the investment that you'll need to make to get there is well worth it, and it's going to come back to you tenfold at least. So it's very important that you attend the Rockstar Unconference in Las Vegas. It's held at the D, and it's an awesome place right on Fremont Street, so there's all kind of crazy stuff happening outside. All the meals are free. It's just like, this is a legit no-brainer. So hope to see you at Rockstar. And all you got to do is go on Google and put in Rockstar Unconference Las Vegas, and it's like about 9 pages of it. So it's pretty hard to avoid. Another friend of the program is our friends at Tacoby. Tacoby is an awesome company. They are really interesting people. We've had the honor and privilege of helping staff this company as they're growing. And they have a unique social media presence, I think. Dan Webb, one of the co-founders and owners, is going to be on the show, actually our next show, which is the 20th of this month. Dan's going to be in studio here with us, and they are really an interesting group of people. Their home office is out in Colorado, and we help staff that thing. They call them ninjas. And John Huey, one of our recruiter trainers, he goes out there and helps recruit for them. And just the environment alone, it tells you a lot. It's interesting being in the recruitment world. We can tell so much about a business. It's like, I don't want to mislead anyone. Say, you got a new podcast. I'm sure like everybody in like Ford Motor Company probably want to give you $1 million a year to advertise on your podcast. They're like, no, not yet, but. And there are some people that we offered to that are going to look for a pretty big price bump here after a while. But we did get asked by several companies that we actually that I discouraged at this point from coming on board as sponsors. And it's not because they're bad people or what have you. But what I liked about this, what we call the friends of the program thus far, is that we like the culture of their businesses. Which is very important to me. I think it should be to you if you're a dealer and you're looking for some way to really accelerate in-market leads Tacoby's got this stuff down, man. You don't do $4 million in revenue in a quarter in this business and have it be scalable unless you have a pretty good idea of what you're doing. And they do. They're total rock stars. And like I said, Dan Webb is going to be he's going to be on our next podcast. Next friend of the program is my pal, Troy Spring. Troy was actually the first guest on the Recruiter podcast. And the reason I have his book here is because during that podcast, I said that the first person that made a YouTube comment during when we ran this podcast would get an autographed. And I was kidding Troy that a regular unsigned book is like $20. No, that's not true. He won't sell as many. It's probably more around $15 on Amazon. You can check it out. It's called Turbocharge Your Life. But I told him the autograph copies were less money, so because he screwed up the book and signed it. But oddly enough, our guest Bill was the first person to make a YouTube comment. So I was telling Joanna, my assistant, mail went out to him, and Bill said, "Well, no, wait, I'm going to be in there." So Troy Turbo, whoever won this, I hope you enjoy. Is signed. So there's your signed copy of Turbocharge Your Life from Troy.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and Troy's company, Dealer World, is just they're awesome. They're awesome people. I've seen him grow that company. I asked him to speak every year. My company, AutoMax Recruiting and Training, we have an internal conference, and we bring in all the team members and their significant others and so forth. And it's kind of we do a little bit of training, but it's mostly, breaking bread and, fellowshipping together and so forth. And it's pretty cool. And probably at the lowest point in his career, for a lot of different reasons, it was the recession and so forth. I asked him, he did his first legit, quote unquote, air quotes, keynote for us. I had met him online through some weird blog and a thing called Brain Food. And I picked it up and I looked at it, and it was in a group outside of Facebook and so forth. Facebook wasn't that big then, so this is a while ago. And it was just a guy writing about the car business and his thoughts and his experiences, and he called it Brain Food. I thought it was very smartly written. So I reached out to him, asked him if I could steal it and put it on, not steal it, borrow it, or if he'd like to be a contributing editor to our website, which at the time was totally Mickey Mouse. And that's how we began our friendship. And he's a dear friend, and just the people that work with him, for him, just you can tell that he's a real servant leader, and they love him, and his clients love him, and his business has grown just exponentially. And it's because of the way he leads, frankly, and the way that the culture that he has built. So mydealerworld.com, big-time friend of the program. The last one I'd like to talk about is one that we use when people say, how can you find these people? I've been running ads, these Pulitzer Prize winning ads for months, and I get knuckleheads, and you do it for 4 days, and these amazing, where do these people come from? Here's the inside information. Don't tell anybody. It's because we use a recruiting platform called Automoto HR. The CEO and founder is a gentleman by the name of Stephen Warner, who has a mixture of 25, 6, 7 years of automotive experience, general manager, and so forth, and is a major geek and really crazy smart. So he's out in Silicon Valley. All the software is his. He and his team has developed it, and it's amazing. If you want to take more of a DIY approach to your recruitment, which a lot of dealers do, they have the people to be able to interview. They have the people to initially train, or they have a training manager, or whatever the case might be. They don't need us for all of that, because when we do all of that, it's more money. So this is like crazy dirt cheap. Actually, if you call the office, excuse me, or email my son, Joe Lockard, who's the director of operations, and use a code word, the Recruiter Podcast, you actually get a discount, which is pretty cool. And it's already cheap. I mean, there is a competitor. There's a couple. One of them is gigantic because they have like a bazillion marketing dollars. Automotive HR does not, but their platform is literally by far. If I could use a different platform and get better results, I would. But we're very into AI in terms of recruiting. Want to stay ahead of the game there. This provides that. To get a job listed on Google Jobs takes special coding. It's like you can't just go to, you're just whoever and post a job on Google Jobs. It has to be aggregated from another site, and the only way to do that is through code. And so unless you got somebody really, hashtag learn to code on your at your dealership or whatever business it is you're in, you're kind of screwed. So this platform does that for you. It breaks the ads down into, I think it's 107 different languages. It's just ridiculous. Electronic onboarding, on and on and on and on and on. So they're a real true friend of the program, and we appreciate their support very much. Last thing I want to say before getting to the guest here, we're going to be half the show's going to be over, and I'm not going to. Hey, Bill, thanks a lot for coming in.
My pleasure.
You see, you have a nice life. So, but hey, no, it was brought to my attention. We got to let people know where we're at. So. Here's the way this thing works. We live stream. We have a producer. It's in the next room over. So we're live streaming right now to our YouTube page, which is very specifically AutoMax Recruiting. I got to say this. I just noticed this. There's a couple pretenders out there. Some people like to mess with other people in this world, which is a little weird and a little sick. There's a couple of AutoMax Recruitings out there with YouTube channels. They're not ours. I'll tell you the one that that you're at the right one. It's got a picture of a kid screaming into a big round microphone. Okay, that's the AutoMax's. That's where this live stream is going, like right now, live. So go subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'd appreciate it. I'd like to say we could send you something, but I'm hoping for 1 million subscribers, so I can't send out 1 million hats. I can't send you each $1. I guess I could, but that would suck. So I'm not going to. I don't want to send out $1 million for you to join YouTube. So, but nevertheless, if you could support us, it'd be awesome, and we'll subscribe back if you have a channel. Be happy to do that. Do it all the time. So you can see us there, or you could go to our AutoMax Recruiting page on Facebook. Again, we've made things a little confusing. We have several business pages. The one that you want to go to, where this is streaming live right this second, is AutoMax Recruiting. AutoMax Recruiting on Facebook. You can also see us. You can't see us there, Craig. That's wrong. But you can listen to us on your favorite audio platform: iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify. I think that's it. But if you want to listen, or you want to turn somebody onto the show, they have a lot of choices. So pick your favorite. If you're watching this live, what would really mean a lot to us, is that you share this and share this information. What we're finding out with these podcasts is that even though I've been in the automobile business, God willing, this June will be 46 years, is that I found that the car business, the automotive industry in itself, has morphed and should and will continue to morph into something different, more unique, more real than jamming a customer into a car. Things are changing. And I think, in my opinion, this is the best time to be in the automobile business ever. Like literally, no baloney. This is the best time to be in the automobile business. And I believe that with 100% of my heart, provided that we take care of the industry that's taking care of us. So what I found out through these podcasts is that these conversations go in and out of the automobile industry, and my hope is that see, it's kind of selfish, and I said it on the last podcast. It's like my guest today, Bill's a smart guy. He's a kind guy. He's a Christian man. There's things I want to know that I want to know about Bill. My kind of thing is to leave here smarter than I walked in the room. So it's kind of selfish. I'm kind of taken. It's like, well, wait a minute. Isn't he supposed to be, giving stuff to his audience? Yeah. Isn't he supposed to be like highlighting his guest? Yeah. But man, I could be sitting at home, So it's like, if I'm going to be here, I want to get smarter. And my hopes is that in that dialogue, that perhaps my guest might hear something that might help him or her, and again, obviously, we're real concerned about the audience because I want them to walk away here with something that they can actually use in their life, whether it be in a dealership, in whatever business it is that you're in, that you're listening or watching the live stream right now, in your family, whatever, in your community. That's if you walk away with something that's going to positively affect that, I'm in all the time.
Two-way street, dude.
You bet. Bill, introduce yourself to everybody.
Now you leave me.
That's right. You're going to come fast and furious, pal.
I'm 62 years old.
Old guy.
Old guy. Hashtag old guy. I'm a widower of 2 years. Lost the love of my wife to brain cancer. Don't mean to immediately start with some of the tough stuff, but
start wherever you want to, dude.
That 19 years, anybody that says marriage is easy is a liar or has never been married. But my wife is in heaven, and I think it's important to share that piece. I appreciate the part of the introduction. I am a Christ follower. I'm not perfect by any means, and I don't judge anybody for any way they think or worship. Yeah. We live in a country where you're free to do that.
Yes, sir.
And everybody should exercise that right to their own means.
I agree.
Background-wise, I was born and raised in Nebraska. I'm a Cornhusker by birth.
Oh boy, that's a problem. I'm a Buckeye.
Oh, see.
Yeah, but you should. Good thing you didn't bring that in front of my son Joe. Although Nebraska's kind of like not really in the Big Ten.
Well, that's
They're
true.
trying.
That is true.
Someday
we had to move to where we had a better opponent in Ohio State than we ever had in Oklahoma.
Yeah, I guess that sucks, man. Since they haven't been good since Osborne left, right?
Long time.
Or was there? Did they have good years after Osborne left?
No, we're the only team where you trade a coach that was 11-2 to go 6-7. Right. I mean, as soon as they went outside of the family and started hiring outside coaches.
What was that about? Was it recruiting violations or
no? Just stupidity.
Yeah.
Yeah,
if you don't win the national championship, see ya.
Yeah, you set up a pretty high bar. Devaney and then Osborne.
That's true.
Two hard acts to follow. You mentioned about Tony or Troy, the idea of servant leadership.
Yeah.
If in today's world, if a coach or if a player had said, if a coach had said, I'd never cussed a player. Right. Everybody would be all up in arms like, no way.
Right.
Well, Osborne made that statement, and it's true today.
Yeah. Interesting.
So that part of my life, went to a community college in Southern Colorado. I was heavily involved in the horse business early in life.
Oh, I did not know. How so?
My mother had a love of horses.
Girls and horses, man.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
That's a dangerous deal.
There were 5 children. I'm the oldest. I have 1 sister and 3 brothers. And my mother made a commitment to me because of her love of horses. If you want to ride, beg, borrow, steal, somehow we'll find a horse. And so on a $250 gelding when I was 15 years old, I had some success in the calf roping world.
Nice.
And I found out people would pay me to ride their horses.
Right.
Talk about a dream come true.
Yeah. Were those quarter horses? Or?
They were quarter horses, yeah, on the competitive side.
Yeah. And what part of the country? Still in Southern Ohio? Or?
Nebraska.
Oh,
yep. Still in Nebraska.
Yeah,
That's gotcha. Okay. And then I had a professor, short deviation in the horse world. So I went to school on a rodeo scholarship. Wasn't that good. I mean, you find out pretty quickly where you fit in the hierarchy.
Right.
There were dudes lots better and faster than myself, but I was a dedicated hard worker.
Well, that's interesting. So hierarchies in themselves are interesting, and everything does have a hierarchy, obviously, and there are those that are going to excel, and then there's going to be a dispossessed portion of the people at the bottom, that need some representation as well at some point. But that's interesting. I wouldn't think, I guess, but that would be true in that, it's true in anything, right? So it would be true in there. It's funny that, and you were not in the patriarchal position in the hierarchy, right?
I was not the upper echelon.
Right. That's interesting. That'd be a weird feeling, wouldn't it? Because you were probably hot stuff.
A big fish in a little pond before I left home.
Yeah.
Again, experienced some level of success.
Yeah.
But you find out pretty quick, hey, that dude's really talented. So there's a gentleman in the competitive team roping business, and a man named J.D. Yates. And J.D. was a kid when I was at this college in Lamar Community College is where I started that. And J.D. would come rope with his dad. In the year that I was there, I never saw J.D. miss a set of heels.
Whoa!
This kid was, he's a NFR champion, world champion in the team roping.
How's that possible?
Well,
never.
He lived with a rope in his hands, and he had great coaches. Yeah. And if you're familiar with the author Malcolm Gladwell, in some of his writings, he talks about the one example at the start of one of the books is the Canadian Hockey League, and how players get ranked, and the date of their birth designates where they fall in the hierarchy. And so he noticed a pattern literally in the professional ranks. You could have taken the birth dates of those kids playing professional hockey,
right,
and called the game around their birth date.
No way.
Is the earlier they're born.
Is that in blank?
It's in. It's not David and Goliath.
That's crazy. Is that right?
Yeah, it's
by the
earlier that you're born,
right,
you're that much more physically developed,
right.
And in the hockey leagues, in the young kid leagues,
right,
you get, if you're physically mature,
gotcha, you
get the better coaches because you can knock a kid down on skates, or you can check him, or do whatever it is you need to do.
Right.
They get noticed earlier. They get pushed into those developmental leagues, and then they wind up in the pros.
Well, that's interesting. So I just gave up. Let me make sure I understand you right. So if I heard you right, so my assistant's got a little boy. He's, oh gosh, I'm going to take heat for this. He's 4. He's going to be 5. So she wants to put him in kindergarten, regular kindergarten. And I said, no, hold him back. He's smaller.
Okay.
He's awesome. Very unique, free spirit, all boy, like dictionary, like, okay, yeah, that's Brendan, that's a boy.
Yeah.
And he's an awesome person. But I said, hold him back, because that's what my parents did with me. So I started my senior year. I turned 18 like a few weeks after school started. So I was always a year older. Mm-hmm. So consequently, I was like, school was easier. School was easy, and I didn't do anything. And I'm not that bright. I'm like just shit above a chimp. So it's like,
maybe not.
Well, yeah, pretty close. I know a little bit about a lot of stuff, but not much about anything. One thing. Well, there are a couple things I know a lot about that I shouldn't. But I regress. Sports for me was like, I was always bigger, stronger. Mm-hmm. I'm in 7th grade. I'm 6'2". No, God, I haven't thought about this in forever. So I'm in 7th grade. The high school basketball coach buys a house 3 doors down from my parents' home, builds a basketball court, full court, glass boards. Now this is in 1966 or whatever it was. because they thought I was going to be like 7 foot tall. Like literally everybody, we'd play,
Yep.
and we'd win 40-20, and I'd have 35 of the 40. But I mean, it was like lurch. I couldn't barely walk and chew gum, which was ultimately turned out bad because I never grew. I got to 6'3" and it was it. Now I've shrunk back a couple inches over the years, but it was like so. Everything was easier for me. The clicks, self-confidence. It was like high school was a breeze, man. I didn't get bullied. I didn't bully anybody, but I was like,
You were in.
I was in, right?
Yep.
So I'm trying to talk her into, holding them back a year to experience those same kind of things because it made things easier for me. However, as it turns out, maybe that's not the right move.
Well,
right?
it all depends on the rationale.
Yeah.
I mean, you know how hard it is to tell somebody something they don't want to do, get them to see the shift.
Yeah, nearly impossible.
You and I, in different circumstances, we would view things by our experiences completely differently. Mm-hmm. So it's all it. And then there's that level of control, meaning how much do we really control? Mm-hmm. We think we control a lot of things, but if you really whittle it down to,
right.
Do I have authority in this?
Right.
Is it?
Right.
Excuse me. Is it an illusion?
Right.
Yeah. So,
right. Wouldn't it be cool if we could actually see God giggle at us?
He does that to me all the time.
Seriously, dude, you really think I'm going to let that happen? That's a really cute plan you came over with. No, that's not happening.
He reads your plans like mine?
Oh, yeah, exactly, dude. Yeah. After yours. He probably reads them after yours.
He's looking for a bigger laugh?
Exactly. Like, oh, yeah, okay, that's happening.
Bill was cute today, but
right.
Craig's really on it.
Did you see the picture of my blown out tire from yesterday?
No.
Oh, dude, you got to check this out. So yesterday, I for whatever reason, gosh, I can't lose this email because that's part of your the way that you get to win something today. What am I looking up? Oh, okay, so you got to see this. So for whatever reason, I drive up here. I go to leave early yesterday. Excuse me. So
bless you.
So Joanna, my assistant and friend, and she does a lot. She does a lot of our video stuff, and just Joanna does a million things for the company, post jobs and so forth. So she's been on a cruise. She was out of town, and I'm like pretty much not able to do anything on my own.
Handicapped.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh wait, can I say that?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Well, I'll handle the emails. It doesn't matter. So. I mean, like, she goes to the grocery store for me. It's kind of sad, but it's like I haven't been in a grocery store in probably 8 or 9 years or whatever it's been. But at any rate, she's been on a cruise, so I'm, like, freaking out. It's like, Dixie's almost out of food, Joanna. She makes Dixie this special food. It's like I just changed my diet recently, and it's like I'm almost out of this and out of that. And it's like, God, Craig, I'm on a boat. Leave me alone, man. So, like, she drops Brendan off at school and stops by, make sure that I'm not, I'm actually alive. So she stops by, and I buy these old cars, right? So I got a bunch of old cars, and they're nothing. Like I got I don't know,
to like fix up. You buy them to fix?
No, I just buy them, drive them for a while, flip them. Just I don't know. Like I've had 25 Mercedes in the last 10 years or 12 years or whatever. So this guy sounds so stupid. Now, keep in mind, it's an 01, so I'm not like some sort of elitist pig here talking. But Dixie had my dog, and thank you for the dog food, by the way.
Hey,
the trees.
Like, you don't come to a party empty-handed.
She's gonna freak because she's got one treat left. When I left this morning, it's like, because I have a dog walker because I got some orthopedic issues. I just had, I told you I got ruptured Achilles. I'm like 12, 13 weeks out of post-surgery. So I can't walk her yet fully. She's like a strong hound dog. It's like, I love you, Daddy, love you, Daddy, love you, Daddy, squirrel. It's like so. But she just ran out. It's like she's going to be pumped when I get home.
Well, the thing that you shared, her journey earlier this year or last year.
Right.
Sorry, I forget the exact time frame, but
Yeah, this is fall.
there are ways that you can see into a person's soul, and your love and care for that dog, without a doubt. I mean, I was a fan previously. You know, I've talked a little bit about that, and we'll probably touch more of it. But that was like, you can't fool a dog.
No, you can't. You cannot fool a dog. You cannot. That's an absolute fact. We'll come back to that. But
Go ahead.
So Joanna stopped by, and so I bought this out of character. Why did I do this? So Dixie's got her own car. She has this old Mercedes. It's an 01 S-Class. I know that sounds pretentious, but it's at 17 or 18 years old or whatever, so it's like, what's it worth? But so I can't drive that one every day because it's full of her hair. It's like it has to get detailed once a month, so it's just like, so what did I take it out there for? Oh, the automatic air leveling went, and on a Mercedes, I could get.
It's an 01.
Yeah, so it could be that could determine whether you keep it or compact it into a coffee table, right? Because it's worth nothing. So it was a cheap fix. It was like $1,100. So we got the thing going. But I pull on the lot, and there sits this '96 green Von de Plas Jaguar, right? I'm looking at this car. I'm like, dang, that thing is spotless. And I go in, and Chris, the owner of the place, good friend of mine, Chris Lasco Motors in Hamilton, New Jersey. Awesome place. And it happens to be for sale. And if you want to, legit walk-in, turnkey, used car lot with a boatload of service and contracts for cheap money, call Chris Lasco Motors, Hamilton, New Jersey. It's a zero-brainer buy. He's ready to retire, and you can literally steal this place. And it's got built-in business. So anyhow, I've known Chris forever. Chris worked for me as a used car manager at the last store that I was involved in and I ran. So at any rate, so I said, "What's going on with that Jaguar?" He said, "Dude, really? You've had and before that, I've had Mercedes every year since 1986. So that was one of my written goals. When I get enough money, I'm going to walk in a Mercedes dealership, buy a car cash, right?" So luckily that happened once.
Absolutely.
So I never considered a Jaguar, because those things, there's a lot of electrical. There's there's a big long list of. Now this still has the Jag engine. Well, let me fast forward because this story is going to end up not being all that interesting, frankly. No, that's not true. It's kind of interesting.
It's all interesting.
So it's got 69,000 miles on it. Sitting in one of his customers' fathers passed away. This is the old story. Sat in his garage for 5 years. Never started. Never did nothing. Right to his car. 69,000 miles. 68,800 when I bought it, like a month ago. And this car is flawless, right? So the only thing it needed, he went through the car, obviously it's been sitting for 5 years, so it needed a tweak here, a tweak there, and he put these 4 Bridgestones on it, which, I don't know, what is that, $300-400 a tire? They ain't cheap.
I was going to say $1,500, $1,600.
Yeah, so, this thing is knee-deep in rubber, right? So Joanna stops at my house, and she had never seen the car. She said, "Wow, really is clean. You were right. This is it looks brand new." And what's this? Is that walnut or mahogany or what? It's got those tables you pull down in the back, which is perfect for a laptop, but back in '96 there was no such thing, so it was legal pad. So, but it's a pretty cool looking car. It's that green, the plastic.
That's my favorite color of Jag.
Yeah, it's cool looking. So, and then it's got the Jaguar engine in it before Ford put the Ford motor in it, so it's fast as hell. It's crazy. I said, "Yeah," and so my response to her was, "Yeah, it's perfect." Okay. Yeah, it's perfect. The minute those words came out of my mouth, the very second it came out of my mouth, I said, "Oh my God, I can't believe I just said that." So I hop in the car, come up, go over the Ben Franklin Bridge to get here, and then you take I-95 north like you're going to New York City. Well, and so Google said, got a better plan because there was 4 lanes dead stop. I said, "Okay, well, I trust Google. They're
Google
a monopoly. Google said it's got to be right. I am not exaggerating when I tell you, you don't know this area. I ended up down in Penn's Landing, which is really a cool area down by the boats and the harbor and so forth, and a lot of restaurants and shops and, yuppie type and just, kind of cool, weird stuff. But potholes, you live in Cincinnati right now. They're not bad in Cincinnati. You got to go further north, but I'm talking about big-ass potholes.
Detroit-wise.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, like meteors hit the ground. So, and I'm bouncing in and out of these things with this Jag. I get up, I'm 1.7 miles from this exit. And the ass end of the car felt a little funny. I'm going, oh no, did I do something to the differential or the rear axle hitting those potholes? Like, you got to be kidding me. It didn't even dawn on me tire because things got, 150 miles on these $8 trillion tires. Guy pulls up next to me. I'm pointing right now aggressively for those of you on iTunes and so forth. So I'm going, oh, real seriously, flat tire. So I take my phone out. So I pull over, take my phone out. Don't text and drive. Take my phone out, and I texted Joe and Ernie. And I said, flat tire, calling AAA. I hit send. I hear a knock on the window. It's Ernie. He was like 1,000 feet behind me.
Timing.
Unbelievable. So, not unbelievable, really, but at any rate, and because of this back knee ruptured Achilles thing, me changing a tire, it's not happening. Right? And I'm literally 3 minutes from here, from the studio. 3 minutes, right? So I'm thinking, and it's 20 till 11, right?
Go time.
So it's like Ernie said, what do you want to do? I said, I don't know. Ernie called AAA. He said, I can change this. He said, you just make sure no one hits me while I'm changing this, right? And we'll figure this out. Now, figuring out how to change a spare on a Jaguar is not that easy. Mm-hmm. It's a little tricky. Cranks it up, puts the spare on. Inside the spare looks a little worn. It must have been on the right front because it was a little bald. But the tire looked good, rims perfect. Put it on there, jack it down. The spare's flat.
Not funny.
Not funny. So I run the last 1.2 miles in here on that. Right? You check that out. See that? So so that's kind of funny. So that rim's screwed, right? So here's what happens. This is kind of interesting, I think. So I call AAA. I don't have my card number, right? I'm sitting in a studio doing a podcast, and Naomi Bussinger was sitting right where you're sitting, and this is all happening. And it's like 2:00, right? And I screwed around. I should have done it earlier in the morning, but I got, Anthony was here, so it's like got some sort of timeline. You got to try to stay within. All this is kind of free flow, so it doesn't, there's not real constraints, and I got no boss in this thing, so I do whatever the heck I want. So I called AAA, and the lady asked me all the questions. I don't have any idea. The only thing I could answer was my name, my address. So I was like, and okay, but I could have been anybody, literally. True. Literally, Bill, I could have been anybody. Send a truck out. Guy calls me. I'm sitting in here. I take the call on air. I said, look, dude, could you do me a favor? I'm doing a podcast. Do you know what a podcast is? Oh, yeah. I said, I can't leave. I have a guest like right in front of me, like you're on the air right now. I said, the keys are in the front. It's a green Van de Plaza. Could you just take it in this place called Keystone Discount Tire in Ben Salem, Pennsylvania? Shout out to you guys. You guys are freaking awesome. So I had called them a half hour before, couldn't get a hold of anybody, left a voice message. I'm this guy. Here's my name. The car's on a rim. AAA is going to bring it. I need a tire. I'd like you to use the rim from the first tire that's in the trunk because this one's butter. It's done. And just take care of it and call me back. Let me know what time I can pick it up. Right? Guy calls me back a half hour later. Got a tire, no problem. You'd be done in a half hour. And I take this call online. Well, Naomi's sitting right across from me. I said, "Really, dude? That's cool." The guy has my name, and it's how old's that car? 23-year-old Jaguar with a temp tag on it, right? With a flipping temp tag on it. Could be, right? I mean, if I'm on the other end of either one of these phone calls, this is a total scam. Somebody's trying to hit me.
Where's the camera?
Right? So he said, well, we close at 6. So Naomi and I finished up, go down there. Tire, now not a Bridgestone, but a tire put on the good rim, installed with tax, $106. They don't participate with AAA. They had been a AAA approved place, it would have been even less. I walk in, the guy shakes my hand, Bill. "Oh, Mr. Locker, good to see you. I'm so happy that we were able to take care of you today in the fashion that we did. Is everything cool?" I said, "Are you kidding me, dude? Is everything cool? Like, you've made, like, I'm thinking I got to get a hotel room here tonight."
You could shoot a training video.
Right? Like, and I told him, I said, "Look, I mentioned you on the podcast. I'm going to do it again. If I can get you whatever, I'm all in." So Keystone Discount Tire Center. It's 2 miles from all things. The heck is the name? Adam. I'm so sorry, man. All systems go. Jeez. Oh my goodness, Adam. I'm so sorry, dude. Just add something to my bill.
I was just going to say, let the bill reflect.
All systems go, AV. I'll tell you, really, seriously. And they're not a sponsor, but these people here, if you want to do a podcast, they have a really nice setup here. They got all the stuff. They're awesome people. They're very, very, very smart, but they do work all over the place. So whatever you got, it needs heavy videos, audio, whatever, man, these guys are top notch. So really recommend them highly. So, where are we going to go from there? Well, I don't think we need to delve into that, but I don't know. I really I appreciate the stuff for Dixie. She's pretty cool. She is a flat out miracle. And I tell you what happened. What really happened? I know there is more to the story that I think you'd be interested in, and it's. And I hope people take this part of the story in the spirit that which it's given, because I think. Well, you'll see as it unfolds. So. Excuse me. So it hit me pretty hard when she was first diagnosed. I mean, it was like there was like basically zero chance. It was like basically zero. And Jody, my controller, just frankly told me, just ask God what to do. I said, "What do you mean?" "Just say, God, what should I do?" Shut up and listen. And I don't know about you, but Naomi and I had that conversation yesterday where I'm good in the morning. I have a routine, right? And I'm good at night, right? It's during the day when we need them the most where I get screwed up.
Distractions.
And it's like, I don't even think about it. It's like, when I come here in the morning, it's like, this is just something I do. This could be controversial, and just, I don't throw your comments in. I don't care. Whatever you believe is fine with me, because the greatest commandment would be what?
Love God and love one another.
Right. So I don't care. I literally, really, truly, unless you're Hitler, it's like you got to draw the line somewhere. But man, I don't care what people do. I really, truly don't. It's like, love on them. So, excuse me. So, where was I? Oh, gosh.
Dixie's diagnosis.
Right. So,
and, what Jody said.
Right. So that's what I did. And it was as clear of answers I've literally ever received. The only other time I have My second daughter was in a horrible car accident about 21 years ago and has what's called TBI. She's awesome. She's freaking brilliant, hardworking, amazing woman. Single parent, just amazing woman. And TBI, the CTE,
Yep.
head injuries are a very real thing, and they're a booger, man, to deal with. And she was in a coma for quite a while, and I can remember the day I walked in her hospital room, and I said to the nurse, she was at Ohio State University, the teaching college, so it was like a new nurse or doctor every 20 minutes. That's an exaggeration, but there was somebody new. So I walk in and I say, well, I haven't seen you before. How's our patient today? Well, why don't you look over and ask her? And her eyes are open. It was like a total miracle. Yeah. It was insane. So, I mean, there's things that happen in our life that are legit miracles, and it's like, well, gosh, Greg, your miracle involves your dog? Yeah, it did, because I posted on Facebook, and it was the legit, you know how Facebook goes, man. Some of it's so fake, and there's so much garbage, and there's so much posturing, and I don't think it's the majority. I think they're the loudest.
Until I found the groups that I'm in today, this automotive community, Facebook was the last place you were likely to find me.
Right. Which ones do you like the best, group-wise, in your opinion?
Sales Hustlers, Rise and Grind.
Right. Trying to get Glenn on the show. Glenn Lundy, make the time. Come on up here, dude.
Win-win.
Come on, man.
It's all, and everybody has agendas, but if you filter out the noise, those groups provide the most value. There's others, but those have become the recurring themes that
right.
resonate with me.
Right. Lisa's Big Sellers is interesting.
Big Sellers, yes.
Right. But there's so many, because I don't know what Sales Hustlers got. What is it, 15,000 or something more?
And that's and with all the growth in them, I stopped watching the numbers and
big.
just wanted to focus on the quality.
Right.
And that's
right.
No offense to anyone. Jason Gerdner has a great group.
Right. Lions Club or something.
Yeah. So there's lots of them, and again, just because things that get shared across all of them also gets a little bit confusing.
Yes.
Sometimes
you mix up the two.
I do it all the time.
I saw this on Sales Hustler, and it wasn't. It was on Rise and Grind or vice versa or whatever. Yeah.
So, but that piece, that part of the story where you started talking about that journey, I had always admired you since we met last year.
Thanks.
But that hooked me. I mean, it was like this guy's heart is on display.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. I just happened to be in the way or got out of the way. So what was interesting is legit prayers coming through for me and the dog.
Absolutely. Mine were among them.
Right. And then when I got the phone call and they said that it was benign, and the doctor's crying, I'm crying. It was like, she goes, I've been in medicine 12 years. I've literally never seen anything like this. She said, there's something's happening here. Your faith changed things. And it really wasn't. Well, it was, plus money, which I was blessed to have. Partially based on my faith. So it all comes together.
The circle was complete.
You bet. So, and all these well-wishers. Then I posted the thing from the U.S. hockey team in Lake Placid. Right. Do you believe in miracles? Yes. And that was 500 more. It's like, God bless. I was like, just amazing. Because like I expressed yesterday, I was making out her bucket list, because I was, it's like, it's pretty easy to be convinced that the miracle's not going to happen and walk by it. So speaking of walking by it, so she had the surgery. and this young couple was there, and this guy had this old boxer dog, and he's just the guy, the owner of the dog, is just a wreck. He's crying uncontrollably in the waiting room, and this is a animal hospital, so there's only two outcomes at this place.
Mm-hmm.
And like, they're not a grooming facility. Mm-hmm. It's like life or death hospital for dogs, like a really good one. And this old dog was not looking good. So I saw his what turned out to be his girlfriend up at the front counter, and she's distraught, but he's a mess. I said, look, this is way, way past being any of my business, but obviously there's something wrong with the dog and your friend. Well, that's my fiance. I said, well, okay. What's the diagnosis? He's got cancer, and they want us to put him down, this and that. I said, so I didn't say nothing. She said, why? I'm sitting there thinking, okay, God, what do you want me to say here, really? Like, really, what do you want me to say? I said, so what has the doctor told you? Is there any hope whatsoever? And they said, none. I said, like, they have said none. There's like no way. Why do you ask? I said, well, this is way, way, way out of my business, but is it a matter of money? Well, she said, what do you mean? I said, would a few $1,000s help in this, and buy this dog any time, or, improve the situation somehow? Are you offering me money, sir? I said, I'm asking a question. I don't know where I'm going with this, frankly. I said, I honestly do not know. She said, that's the kindest thing. She said, no, but we can't accept, and it would be a waste of your money, sir. It really got me thinking about some of the decisions that we as human beings have to make in life for others. In this particular case, it's a pet, right? I mean, it's an animal. I mean, it's an animal. It's a dog. It's got a face on it. It's got a name, so it's different to us, but it's still an animal. But the decisions that sometimes we have to make as human beings about other people have a lot to do with finances. It really does, and it's unfortunate. I think we get into situations where, and I agree or disagree, whatever. I certainly don't have the answers to everything. That's for darn sure. Got a lot of questions, but we do it in relationships, personal relationships. We do it in business. We do it you're a vendor, I'm a vendor. So when we're talking to a car dealer, what's it going to come down to at some point?
Eventually, they're going to want to know how much it costs.
Got to talk about money somewhere along the line, and there's going to be determinations be made on that. And sometimes, as a vendor, and I don't know if you've experienced this, but I experienced this early on. I experienced this in 08 and 09 when the world went to hell. And thankfully, by the grace of God, since then things have changed and changed. We just came off our best first quarter in 21 years of the company, which is like mind blowing to me.
As good as Jason's? Maybe that's too much information.
Yes, in the same. Our revenue wise, yes.
The realm.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. So.
Well, real quick, before we get too far.
Yeah, go.
What you said to that person and his fiance.
Right.
You showed up. And we've all had experiences. I started off with one of the lower points of my life. 9 years ago, I had an accident that was life-changing. I fell 35 feet and shattered everything from my waist down.
Really?
So...
Wow, you cannot tell. When was this?
9 years, November of 2010, and the reason we've all heard the phrase, the windshield's big for a reason. It's a lot bigger than the rearview mirror.
Yeah.
I don't want to spend much time looking back.
Gotcha.
But the stories offer perspectives.
Right.
So that piece. of perspective and showing up. I have a close friend who one point was pastor of the church that my wife and I attended in Springfield, Illinois. That's where we lived. And his wife was tired on a Thursday, but on Friday, her friends had convinced her, you shouldn't be this tired. Mm-hmm. Go see a doctor. Mm-hmm. So she went and she had a checkup and they drew some blood and different things. Well, she got a phone call on Friday morning, and the doctor said, it was a doctor calling, not the nurse. Mm. And the doctor said, you have to come in now. Mm. And she said, well, I'm on my way to do what I do in business. Sure. And he said, you don't understand. Yeah. You're coming to the hospital right now. Mm. And by Saturday morning, the family had been told, this is not good. Leukemia. And there was a miracle worked. My point in all of this is you were a vessel for those people. If we have that opportunity to be that vessel, it may not be about money.
Right. Money
is a valuable tool, and your willingness.
Right.
You were being led, I think.
Yes.
The point of my pastor's wife, when my...
Sorry.
Oh, that wasn't Nick?
Not Nick.
Excuse me.
Sure.
We did home hospice through my wife's diagnosis.
Right.
One of the toughest yet most blessed times of my life.
I did it with my mom. I get it.
Then you know.
I sure do.
That woman, when most people just think, well, I don't know what to say, so I can't show up.
Yeah.
And she called and left me a voicemail. And just to close that circle, God used her. We had gone to the hospital when she was,
your wife's hospice. The hospice for your wife.
Yeah, I'm going back to my pastor's wife.
Gotcha.
When she was in the hospital, we all gathered. We couldn't go up to see her because she was in isolation.
Right.
Any infection of any kind would have sealed her fate.
Right.
A group of us went to the hospital, prayed for her.
Right.
A miracle was done. Not because we prayed or I prayed, but that's how it worked out. She walked out of the hospital about 6 weeks later, leukemia free. Literally on her deathbed Saturday and 6 weeks later. But the point of how we're all in community,
right? And
you extended your community by going to those people not wanting to show up just because I don't know what to say.
Right.
You don't have to know what to say.
Right.
Show up.
Right.
It's not like you're going to remind anybody of what's going on.
Right.
It's not like you're going to say the wrong thing.
Right.
There's such power in that brotherhood.
Right.
Of just being present.
Right.
Don't worry about talking.
Right.
If something needs to be said, they may ask you a question that triggers the thought process.
That's right. You don't know.
It's just a matter of showing up.
That's right. So let's go from theory to from spirituality to belief to faith, and then let's put it in the real world on a showroom floor. And the number for the month was 100, and there's 3 days left in the month, and they're sitting at 58 cars, and everyone's stressed out, and everyone's losing their minds, right? And threatening, yelling, treating each other like crap. Bull whips out. Where do you think you're going? Forget your day off, dude. We're here till midnight. Tell your wife, have a nice, forget the honey-do list, or if it's a female salesperson, tell your husband you ain't going to see him for a couple days, whatever, right? And then that consequently leads to 76% turnover in the sales department, 90% with females.
Drummed out by the male counterpart.
Right. Dealers, we have legitimately solutions for this stuff, and I'm not sure. This could be the first time I've actually flat out pitched AutoMax. Call us. We can fix. No. We can put you in the right direction in terms of retention. Anthony Santangelo, one of our recruiter trainers, who's pretty visible on social media, to say the least, he's going to be talking at the Rockstar event next week about retention, and It's not that hard. It really isn't that hard. I love the fact that you said be present, because sometimes that 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 60-year-old person at the dealership only needs one thing: a feeling of being in on things, appreciation for effort and the result from that effort. Of that a boy, of that a girl. What do you really want, Bill? At the end of this month, which I hate those month things,
Yep.
you know,
Nature
how'd
of
you
the
do
beast.
last month? You know, it's a lousy month. It's a fast start to the month. We've got to finish strong in the month. You know, it's like our lives are measured in 30-day periods of time. It sucks. It's horrible. When a new trainer starts with AutoMax, I said, this is a one-year deal. Because you're going to have good weeks, bad weeks. You're going to have good months, bad months. At the end of 12 months, you and I are going to sit down. We're going to see if this is a career choice for you or not. So buckle up.
Let me ask you a historical question, because I've been in automotive now 2 years, involved publicly for 1 year.
Right.
As I look at things from the 14,000-foot view, how much did the type of training that was done, let's say 70s, 80s, early 90s,
Right.
in your opinion, as I look at this, I'm thinking, we talk about training salespeople.
Right.
Well, they're people.
Right.
They have homes and lives and all these people they influence.
Right.
And so the ones who are successful,
Right.
mostly male, the
Right.
majority,
Right. Now, yes.
they're going to transfer what they're taught that gives them accolades, however the brain responds, whether it's dopamine, whatever it is.
Right.
Where are they going to take that?
Right.
It's going to go home with them.
Should.
If it's
Good or
done,
bad.
Good. There you hit the key. Good or bad. So does that, in your opinion, does that manifest back the same way? Meaning, let's say it's bad, and it comes back. It gets whatever the bio loop is back in the dealership.
Yeah.
It gets either reinforced positively or negatively.
Correct.
And then from the promoting practices, as I hear the consistent conversation, just because that person was a great salesperson, guess who gets considered for general sales
That's
manager?
what happened to me.
So how has that affected? I was gonna add my own adjectives, but I want you to tell me without inflection from me how you think that's impacted that situation that today.
The industry as a whole, or
Yes,
Okay.
yes, as a whole.
Okay. All right. So, going to be a long answer.
I'm good.
right.
I came here to. You talked about at the start.
Right.
I came here to learn as well.
Okay. Good. All right. Well, and hopefully, you get, and again, unfortunately, I kind of blew some of this story to one of the guests yesterday. I forget who. But when I first started selling cars, legitimately, the phones were wired into an intercom box in the general sales manager's office. So we would push a button on the phone when we do let me check with my manager. I'll be right back. That thing's been going on since, I don't know, whenever.
Yep.
So we'd hit a button. It turned it into a wiretap, into a speaker box with toggle switches into the manager's office. So we could hear everything that the customer's saying if there was two people,
Yep.
obviously, or
Got
more.
it.
Which 6 months later, legitimately 6 months later, the wiretap laws came out, and we had to pull all of that equipment out of the dealerships, because that's the first place they went, was car dealerships, because it was
Really?
really prevalent. Yeah. So, which is, it's a pretty dirty trick. However, there's some good in most things.
All things if you live it.
The psychology of selling, the education that gave me on how people think, like the first lie is told by the customer.
Practical magic.
Yeah. So it's like, Bill, whatever you do, look, they're going to come back. They're going to offer us $1,500 for the car. All right. We're not taking less than $1,800. Period. End of story. I'll handle this. I know how this guys work. So we're listening to that whole thing. So I'm seeing the psychology of it all. So the manager would say to me, so what are you going to go back and hit them at? Well, $1,500. Oh no, dude. That's where they think you're hitting them at. Hit them at 12. and then they feel like they win if they come to 15. I said, oh, okay. I get you now. So, I mean, beyond that, it was there's the keys, there's the cars, there's the jumper cables. If one doesn't start, go get them there, Slick. You're a car salesman.
So here or here.
Right.
And everything in between.
Yeah. So it was only through whatever gifts naturally that I had, or any top performers had, or average performers had, or less than average performers had, was what you ended up with in car sales, basically, back then. Then there was the manufacturers, and then there was a TV station on called ASTN. Cardone was this is when he was a kid. And Grant, I know you're not that old, but you're still, I think you're 7 or 8 years younger than me. You're in a hell of a good shape, dude. God bless you for that. But him, Tom Stuker, who's a personal friend of mine, been around forever. I mean, these guys were on this channel that was just for car dealers. Mm-hmm. And then the OEMs started pushing training a little bit. I was running a huge Chevrolet dealer at the time, and it was called Integrity Selling.
What year?
This was when I took over the store. It was I was one of the youngest GMs in the country at the time for a store this size. I was 29. So it was 1979. So I was 28 or whatever. I don't know. But they started pushing this stuff. So, and we were a big enough organization. We also, at the time, we were hooked up with a company called Automotive Profit Builders, APB, which is at the time, they were the premier, they were it when it came to, quote on air quotes, legit automotive sales training. They were on point. And the dealer that I worked for was one of their original stores. So I was in a fortunate situation where I had 50 salespeople, 15 managers. I'm 28 years old, so I'm open to anything. And the dealer backing with a sales strategy or quote-unquote system that I could teach. So there was daily training. It was very unusual back then.
And you said on point, meaning it resonated with you, the heart that you have, the understanding that you had come to?
Yeah, well, no, you know what? That's a great question, Bill, and I cannot, in all sincerity, answer that question 100% yes. I will, however, say this, that car dealerships with a plan, a strategy, a written goal, a how-to, a step to the sale, a practice, a consistent practice of developing their people, within reason, it almost doesn't matter what it is.
Agreed.
But if you're all rowing in the same direction, the boat's more likely to get to that side of the lake that you want to hit.
Josh O and I talked about that this morning at breakfast.
Did you?
That exact piece.
I think he just signed up for the podcast.
Awesome.
I think he just reserved a.
Awesome.
I saw a booking and I didn't want to. I'm easily distracted, so it was like, oh, yeah, I don't want to go there.
Squirrel.
Right, squirrel. Yeah, thanks a lot, Dixie. So now, luckily, most of it did align with me, or it would have been tougher to follow that, obviously. But I think that, so we went through that, then here's what happened. It got easy, man. Banks started buying anybody. You're breathing, you're driving.
Fog and mirror.
Right. Too Big to Fail. That you ever watch that movie?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I lived that thing, man. At the time, I have a few houses, a little bit of money. I own an automotive recruiting company. And I'm 100% vested in the stock market. At the time, my best friend, Paul Kell, God rest his soul, calls me. How you doing, pal? How am I doing? I'll tell you how the hell I'm doing, dude. I own these houses. The housing market went to hell. I'm 100% vested in the stock market, which is going down 1,000 points a day. Let's see. Oh, and here's the coup de grace. I own an automotive recruiting company. So when a dealership needs more people because they have more business, they hire us, And we're getting a lot of no answers, meaning that stores closed. So I'm not really doing how good, but thanks for asking. How you doing, you schmuck? Don't call me back, meathead.
You called because?
Right, yeah. Leave me alone. Go sell some furniture. So we got really lazy. There was no training going on.
Spoiled.
A knucklehead could put together, it ain't that tough to separate a fool from his money. It isn't. And there was a lot of that going on. So management training became non-existent. I admire a guy like Jim Ziegler. Like, I've known Jim for a long time. And actually, one of my former partners, we had 4 companies at one time during this because it was so easy. Him and Jim actually worked together in Atlanta for a while, so I've known of Jim for quite a long time. But there's very few. Mark Tewert's a good one, and I shouldn't start naming names because I always leave out somebody, and it's like that jerk off didn't mention my name, but like there's very few guys that really know how to train managers. Because like you alluded to, typically it's like, I'd sell 350 cars a year. So guess what? I'm going to be a manager, right? Now, I didn't know that I'd have to take a 50% cut in pay to become a manager, but, it's a step you make.
Understood.
And it turned out okay.
Yep.
So there was no managing. There was no selling. It was a matter of the banks are buying 480 beacons. Come on in. Which one do you want? Okay, no problem. We can get it done. Bang. First payment repo, second payment repo. Too big to fail turned out to be a complete lie. So in my opinion, there's a generation of management that didn't get trained or developed properly, unfortunately. Doesn't make them bad men and women. It's just they were in that time, they were in that crunch. And I think we're coming out of it. I said in the previous podcast with Frank, in my opinion, no baloney, I think this is the absolute very best time ever in the history of the auto industry. Since engines replaced horse and carts in New York City, this is the best time in the automobile industry. I think it's the most exciting. I think there's the most opportunity. I think with different powered automobiles, with artificial intelligence, machine learning, robots, all that stuff frightens me for a lot of different reasons. But what happened during the Industrial Revolution? Can you imagine what the world must have been, what this country must have been like? People freaking out about stuff like that?
There's the people who are freaking out, but then there's also the people who are looking and seeing exactly what you're seeing, the perspective. Your experience has brought you to this point where you have eyes to see and ears to hear. And people, if you have a faith background, you can take that biblically, but it's the same whether or not you understand faith or not,
right,
or accept it.
Right.
I agree with you from the standpoint of, and I don't have your historical perspective.
Doesn't matter.
Coming from outside of an industry,
right,
in my opinion, is a blessing.
Absolutely.
You see things that people who aren't tunnel visioned inside of that,
yes,
that others may not see.
Right.
And I come from that perspective.
Right.
I use the phrase, everything I learned about people, I learned from a horse.
Mm.
And when a new customer would come to me in the horse business, they always start with that line, we're beginners. I said, oh, thank God. The reason I say that, you will see things that I no longer see. Mm. And when you do, the only thing I ask of you is to share them with me.
Wow, that's interesting.
Don't take it like I'm some expert, because I just happen to be a guy with a good process and a work ethic. Help me see what I no longer am able to see.
I like that.
So that perspective that you share, one last question from that piece.
Right.
Where did your heart come from? Meaning the way you view life and love people. And I'll never forget the morning we met in Nashville last year. You openly welcomed me. You had no idea who I was. I could have been, Joe Schmo. But Craig Lockard, in his kindness, welcomed me, made me feel comfortable. And everything I know about you since has reinforced that piece. When did you understand how important your heart? What was it that brought you to that understanding? Can you share that?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll share that. This June 9th, 26 years ago, I was set up on a lunch date with a young woman from Atlantic City. It was a beautiful summer day. It was June 9th. Day before the day of my grandfather, who's now deceased, birthday. And we're sitting at a waterfront restaurant. Beautiful day, beautiful woman. It was a setup date, It's like, and so the server comes over and says to her, "Would you like a cocktail?" She said, "Yeah, let me have an absolute Bloody Mary." I said, "Make it 2." Now, in my life, I had always said I will never drink during the course of a day. I will never, ever. I'll do anything else in the world, but I will never drink. I respect the automobile industry too much, and my job, and to work for the dealer. And I was in town as a consultant. I was partners in a consulting business prior to forming AutoMax. We'd go into dealerships and turn them around and get paid a percentage of whatever we increased the profitability of the store. If we didn't increase profit, we didn't get paid.
Good gig.
Yeah, it was awesome. So,
well, you put skin in the game.
Exactly right.
So you're gonna determine your own success.
Right. So I didn't even think twice about it, and it was one of those things like I'm never going to drink during the day. That's what drunks do, right? So, and bad as I want to, I wouldn't, but for whatever reason I did, and I got that glass like right about here. And those of you that are not watching this, about 8 inches away from my mouth, and I could smell the vodka hit my nose. It was like set it on fire. I put it down, and I looked at it. I said, "Look, this is going to be crazy, and I am so sorry. Here's $20. Grab a cab. I got to go, and I got to go right now." "Why? What's wrong?" I said, I got to get out of here. So I went back to the dealership. I opened up the white pages of the phone book, looked under Alcoholics Anonymous. I made a phone call. I talked to a guy. And he said, "Well, there's this place called the Stagecoach Group. It's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week." I said, "I need 24/7, dude. I'm done. So I work that day. I walk into this place, and I'm all suited up, right? And there's this guy standing outside. His name's Tommy Two Fingers, because he's got these, that's it. He's got 2 fingers. They got blown off, right? He says, "Hey, hotshot." He said, "John Barleycorn's out here doing push-ups, getting ready to kick your ass. You sure you want to go into that room? You're all dressed up. You're a pretty fancy guy. But John Barleycorn, he's out here doing push-ups. Make sure that he's going to kick your ass. You sure you're in the right place?" I said, "Who are you, dude? Well, you're the welcoming committee or what to this place?" "I'm just checking, man, because if you're here to just bullshit us, hit it. But if you think you got a problem drinking, come on in."
Wow.
But remember, this guy's doing push-ups out here ready to kick your ass, so watch out for him. So I walk into the building. And Jimmy was this guy, and he was a legit under-the-bridge drunk. I mean, that was his life. He was look at that guy, He was that guy. Been sober 18 years. I knew him for 6 years, and the only thing he ever said to me, Bill, he said, "One step. Only take one step. Just one step at a time, man. Don't complicate this thing. One step. And don't drink." "What do you mean? Don't drink. Don't take the first drink. That's the one you get drunk on." And I'm going, "Well, no, it's not. It's the 10th. Or by that time, my tolerance was so low, it was the 3rd or 4th. I was so full of alcohol.
Wow.
He said, "First drink." I said, "Okay, this place is a zoo, man. All these people are crazy." Next guy comes up to me. He's like 6'8". He looks at me. He says, "Nice suit, Slick." Said, "Okay, well, if you want to stay, here's what you got to do. You're going to empty the ashtrays at the end of the night, and we smoke like crazy in here, and you're going to make a pot of coffee and you're going to help people in here. And at the end of the thing, you're going to put away the chairs with me. You and me are going to do that. I said, oh, am I? Yeah, or you can hit the bricks. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. It's your life. Whatever you want to do.
Hazing 101.
And I'm like, why? Like, really? Okay, so I'll stay. The speaker gets up. Guy about my age. Had a executive level job. And told my story. He hit every fear, every insecurity I had in life, I mean, it was